I want you to do something right now. Reach up and feel the back of your neck. Just run your fingers across the skin there, right along the base of your neck where it meets your collar. Now check your armpits. And if you have skin tags, those little soft fleshy growths on your neck, your eyelids, or your underarms, I need you to pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you, because your body may have been waving a red flag at you for months or even years, and nobody told you what it meant. Today we are talking about insulin resistance. And before you click away thinking this doesn't apply to you because you don't have diabetes, I need you to hear this first. According to the CDC, approximately 98 million American adults currently have prediabetes, which is directly driven by insulin resistance. And about 8 out of 10 of those people have absolutely no idea. That is not a small number. That is nearly 1 in 3 adults in this country walking around with a condition that is quietly damaging their metabolism, their heart, their brain, and their hormones, and they think they're fine. Insulin resistance is what doctors call a silent condition. It doesn't announce itself with dramatic symptoms. It creeps in slowly, and by the time most people get diagnosed, it has usually been building for years. But here is what nobody talks about enough. Your body does send signals. There are visible, physical signs that show up on your skin, in your energy, in your mood, in your hunger patterns. Signs that most people either dismiss, or chalk up to aging, or never connect to their metabolic health at all. Today, I am going to walk you through the ones that matter most, explain the real biology behind them, and tell you exactly what you can do about it. But first, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what insulin resistance actually is, because it is one of the most misunderstood conditions in modern medicine. Every time you eat something, especially carbohydrates, your body breaks that food down into glucose, which then enters your bloodstream. Your pancreas detects the rise in blood sugar and releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin's job is essentially to act like a key, unlocking the doors on your muscle cells, liver cells, and fat cells so that glucose can get inside and be used for energy. That is the system working perfectly. Now, insulin resistance is what happens when your cells stop responding properly to that key. They become resistant to insulin's signal. The door doesn't open as easily, so your blood sugar starts to pile up in your bloodstream because the glucose has nowhere to go. Your pancreas, being the hard-working organ it is, senses this and responds by producing even more insulin, trying to force the system to work. And for a while, it succeeds. Blood sugar levels may look perfectly normal on a basic lab test, even while this whole overcompensation is happening underneath. That is why so many people pass their routine blood work and think they're in the clear when they're not. But the problem is your pancreas can't keep up that level of overproduction indefinitely. Over time, the insulin-producing cells wear down. Eventually, the system breaks. Blood sugar rises to detectable levels, and that is when prediabetes and then type 2 diabetes get diagnosed. And by that point, years of damage have already accumulated. So the question is, what are the signs that your body was already sending you before it got to that point? The first and most overlooked sign is something on your skin. It has a medical name, acanthosis nigricans, but most people have never heard it. What it looks like is a darkening of the skin, usually a velvety, slightly thickened patch, in the folds and creases of your body. The most common places are the back of the neck, the armpits, and the groin. It can also appear on the elbows, knuckles, and inner thighs. The color can range from tan to brown to almost black depending on your natural skin tone. The texture is what distinguishes it. It feels velvety or almost rough, not smooth, and crucially, it does not wash off. People scrub it thinking it's dirt. It isn't. This is a direct consequence of chronically high insulin levels. When insulin is elevated for extended periods, it starts binding to receptors on skin cells and stimulating them to multiply faster than normal. The skin thickens and darkens. Research published in medical literature, including work from NIH and the American Academy of Dermatology, has confirmed that acanthosis nigricans is one of the earliest and most reliable visible markers of insulin resistance. A 2024 paper from Rush University Medical Center specifically characterized it as an early warning sign that should prompt immediate screening for metabolic dysfunction. It is a physical record of what your insulin has been doing internally for months or years. And then there are skin tags. Those soft, flesh-colored little growths that many people have removed for cosmetic reasons and never think about again. Multiple studies have found a strong association between skin tags, particularly when you have multiple of them on the neck, eyelids, armpits, or groin, and elevated insulin levels. The American Academy of Dermatology has flagged skin tags as one of the 10 warning signs of diabetes risk that appear on the skin. The mechanism is similar to acanthosis nigricans. Excess insulin stimulates skin cell growth in ways the body was never designed to sustain. I want to pause here because I know some of you are looking at your neck right now or thinking about those skin tags your doctor mentioned and said not to worry about. I'm not here to alarm you. These signs don't mean you have diabetes. What they mean is that your body may be compensating for insulin resistance right now, which is exactly the time to intervene before the compensation fails. The second invisible sign is an energy pattern that millions of Americans have completely normalized. It goes like this: you eat a meal, and within about 30 to 60 minutes afterward you feel a heavy, unshakable tiredness. Not just a gentle food coma. We're talking about a crash where your eyes feel like they're closing. Your focus disappears, and all you want to do is lie down. This is what happens when your cells aren't efficiently absorbing glucose after eating. Your blood sugar spikes sharply, your pancreas floods your system with a surge of insulin, trying to compensate, and then blood sugar drops too fast. That rapid drop is what causes the crash. Research published in 2024 documented exactly this pattern in young adults, connecting intense post-meal fatigue directly to insulin resistance dynamics. Most people assume this is normal. It is not. A metabolically healthy person can eat a balanced meal and feel energized or at a stable baseline within an hour. If you are consistently crashing after eating, that energy pattern is your metabolism telling you something. The third sign is hunger that doesn't make logical sense. You eat a full meal. An hour or two later you are genuinely, intensely hungry again, sometimes specifically craving something sweet or starchy. This happens because when your cells are insulin resistant, glucose can't get into them efficiently. Your cells are literally starved for energy even though your bloodstream has plenty of glucose. So your brain keeps sending hunger signals, keeps demanding more food, because from the cell's perspective, energy is not arriving. You eat more, blood sugar goes up, insulin floods in. The cycle continues. And this is also why so many people with insulin resistance struggle with what feels like an almost compulsive pull toward sugar and refined carbohydrates. It isn't a lack of willpower. It is a biological feedback loop driven by cellular energy starvation. The fourth sign is something that almost nobody connects to metabolic health. Brain fog, persistent difficulty concentrating, mental sluggishness, memory lapses, trouble stringing thoughts together clearly, especially in the afternoon. Your brain is the most glucose-hungry organ in your body. It consumes roughly 20% of all the energy you produce, despite being only about 2% of your body weight. When insulin resistance impairs glucose delivery to your cells, your brain is directly affected. Research from 2024 published in peer-reviewed literature has linked insulin resistance in brain tissue to cognitive decline, with some researchers now exploring connections to Alzheimer's disease, a condition some scientists have informally started calling type 3 diabetes, because of the role impaired insulin signaling in the brain appears to play in its development. That connection is still being researched and debated, but the link between compromised insulin function and brain performance is increasingly well supported. If you feel like your mental clarity has quietly declined over the past few years, and you've been blaming stress or screen time or getting older, your metabolic health is absolutely worth investigating. The fifth sign is belly fat that doesn't respond to diet or exercise the way fat in other parts of your body does. Visceral fat, the fat that accumulates deep inside the abdomen, around your organs, is both a consequence of insulin resistance and a driver of it. High insulin levels strongly promote fat storage in the abdominal region, and that visceral fat itself produces inflammatory signals that make insulin resistance worse. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. The waist-to-hip ratio is actually considered by some researchers to be a more useful early indicator of metabolic risk than body weight alone. Now I want to talk about what you can do, because all of this only matters if it leads somewhere useful. The single most powerful intervention for improving insulin sensitivity is one that requires no prescription and no expensive program. It is exercise, specifically a combination of resistance training and walking. Here is why this works mechanically. Your muscles are the largest consumer of glucose in your body. When your muscles contract during exercise, they can absorb glucose independently without insulin. They have their own transporter proteins that activate during movement and essentially bypass the broken signaling system. This is why a 20 to 30-minute walk after a meal can reduce your post-meal blood sugar spike by a meaningful amount. The landmark Diabetes Prevention Program study, one of the largest lifestyle intervention trials ever conducted, found that lifestyle changes, which included 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week, combined with dietary improvements, reduced the progression from prediabetes to type 2 diabetes by 58%. That was more effective than the leading medication used for the same purpose. The dietary change with the most consistent research support is reducing rapidly digested carbohydrates, not eliminating carbohydrates, but replacing refined and ultra-processed carbohydrates like white bread, sugary drinks, sweetened cereals, and packaged snacks with whole food sources that digest slowly. Vegetables, legumes, whole grains, berries. The reason this helps is that slowly digested foods produce a gentler, more gradual rise in blood sugar, which means a smaller, more appropriate insulin response. You stop triggering the overproduction cycle. Over time, insulin levels come down, and your cells become more responsive again. Sleep is also far more important here than most people realize. Research consistently shows that even 1 or 2 nights of poor sleep measurably reduces insulin sensitivity. During sleep deprivation, your body releases elevated levels of cortisol and growth hormone, both of which counter insulin's effects. If you are exercising and eating well but sleeping only 5 or 6 hours, you are working against yourself at the hormonal level. The good news in all of this, and I want to make sure you hear this clearly, is that insulin resistance is not a permanent condition. It is a functional problem, not a structural one. Your cells haven't been permanently damaged. They have simply been exposed to chronic signals that made them downregulate their insulin response. When you change the signals, the response changes. Research published as recently as 2025 confirmed that even people with long-standing insulin resistance can achieve meaningful improvements in insulin sensitivity through targeted lifestyle changes. The body is genuinely responsive, but the window matters. Acting when you are at the stage of insulin resistance, before the pancreas burns out, before blood sugar becomes chronically elevated, is when the intervention is most powerful and most complete. That is the stage where lifestyle alone, without medication, can fully turn things around. So here is what I want you to take away from this video. The signs of insulin resistance are not dramatic. They are not the obvious can't-miss symptoms people associate with diabetes. They are a darkened patch of skin on your neck. They are the tiredness that hits you after lunch every single day. They are the hunger that doesn't make sense. The brain fog you've learned to live with. The belly fat that won't shift. They are quiet. They are easy to dismiss. And that is exactly why 90% of people who have this condition have no idea. Your body has been communicating with you. The question is whether you're listening. If any of what I described today sounds familiar to you, please talk to your doctor about getting a fasting insulin level tested along with your standard blood sugar numbers. A standard fasting glucose or even an HbA1c can look normal while insulin resistance is already well established. A fasting insulin test gives you the full picture much earlier. If this video gave you information that you genuinely needed, please share it with someone you care about, because there is a very good chance that someone in your circle is living with this right now and doesn't know. Subscribe to Wellness Over Time for more content that is built on real data and real biology, because the goal here is never to scare you. It's to give you the information your health deserves. I'll see you in the next one.